Bonjour à tout le monde et merci d'être à l'heure pour notre séminaire sur l'expérience des passagers en aéroport, évolution dans les 5 prochaines années. Bien qu'il soit encore très tôt en Amérique du Nord, on a le plaisir d'avoir des participants d'Amérique, donc on va par courtoisie passer à l'anglais. Toujours bon d'avoir un petit quart d'heure d'anglais avant le repas. So welcome everybody. Thank you very much for attending our workshop number 3, the passenger experience at airports, evolution for the next 5 years. So for those of you attending our workshop in Paris, you will have the opportunity to ask questions using the microphone that you have in the table in front of you at the end of the presentation. For those of you attending remotely, you have the possibility of sending your question via the chat room that you have on your screen. So please feel free. There's somebody here in Paris looking at those, the chat rooms and will be able to relay your questions. Okay. Now I'd like to welcome the presenters, and so we have in the room Arthur Schmidt. Arthur, you can remove your mask. And that is only for the speakers, so all of you please keep your mask for the presentation. This is a very strict policy within this building. So Arthur is a VP Customer Service Air France at Charles de Gaulle Airport. He's also an engineer who studied at Telecom Paris, Mines Paris and the world-famous Swiss Federal Institute in Zurich. And after a number of assignments with the French government, he rejoined Air France 2 years ago, where he's VP for the customer service at Air France Charles de Gaulle. Now, on your screen, you have, on the top of the screen, welcome Gaël. Gaël Lebris is an aviation planner and senior technical principal at WSP USA. For those of you who don't know, WSP Global is a Canadian-listed company, but effectively one of the largest professional services company firm in the world, with approximately 50,000 employees, working in particular on aviation. Gaël, with 2 degrees in aviation, worked for 5 years, first in ADP, before moving across the pond to join WSP USA, where 5 years ago he's now leading the practice on aviation planning and is a senior technical principal. So thank you, Gaël. At the right-hand side of your screen, you have Philippe LABORIE. Philippe is Deputy Director of ORLY Airport. He has been working a number of years in ADP and on different capacities, and brings the wealth of experience of the development during this recent development from, closing ORLY Airport, which is a shock for all of us during this pandemic, to restarting the services and piloting some very interesting projects that I'm going to mention. And last but not least, on the left-hand screen of your screen, and with a sunny sky at the back, please welcome Maurice Jenkins. Maurice Jenkins is Director of Information Systems at Miami International Airport. So hence the beautiful weather that we are all jealous of, or at least the temperature, at least, since we have some blue sky here in Paris today. Maurice has 30 years of IT and telecom experience, building and business management experience at Miami International Airport. He served as the chairman of the Airport Council International on Business Information Technology Committee. He established policy and direct on standard of IT. He is also a member of the CETA Customer Advisory Board and Airport Steering Committee, chairman of the ACI World Airport IT Steering Committee, and you might have seen in the press that we have to congratulate Maurice and Miami International Airport to have received from J.D. Power, this famous surveying company. The Miami Airport got the North America Airport Satisfaction Study, naming Miami International as the top mega airport for the US. So congratulations, Maurice.
Thank you.
So without further ado, I think what I'll do is ask each of the participants to give you a little introduction on what they see from their perspective as a key element to answer our question about the passenger experience in the next 5 years, just as a sort of to keep the ball rolling. And then we open the floor for questions and a fire chat discussion where we'll be able to answer questions and look at the perspective from Miami, Orly, an airline or a consulting company. Maurice, if you want to take the floor, can you give us a brief introduction on what's happening in Miami?
Oh, it'd be my pleasure. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to be able to join this great panel and this event. Uh, it's great to see that the opportunity does present itself, that the transportation industry is a global one, and without collective synergies between regions, the opportunity to increase the landscape and the effectiveness of the air transport industry would not be where it is today. So from welcome on behalf of my director and Miami International Airport, thank you for that opportunity again. At Miami, we've gone through a lot of changes in regards to transformation and looking at technology. And we talk about the passenger experience. And I transition that from not just saying the passenger experience in its totality, but more so the customer experience. Because our focal point needs to be now, given going through the pandemic, post-pandemic, that our customers are both our internal and external customers, and who we're actually dealing with the challenges of making that experience one of value and one that truly makes that difference of what we're dealing with. So for us on the innovation side, we've looked at several pilots, and we look at security. And we're working on a perimeter intrusion detection system right now, encompassing the circumference of the airport, looking at new innovation of how to protect the airport more at new value-added technology, new levels of video and video analytics, and being able to harness that level of data to look at more levels of predictability and more levels of engagement, just to protect and enhance our catchment area and encompassing of the airport. And we can go into that a little bit further as we progress. We recently engaged with some of our regulatory bodies that were working on a drone detection pilot, albeit that drones may have a benefit within the industry in regards to looking at runways and friction and FOD and all of those types of things. Drones also present a level of threat as well to our aircraft, as well as to that ecosystem doing that 250 foot and above type flight range. So we need to be able to examine and where that plays its role. So from the air side, going back to land side, going within the terminal, we've engaged with more queue wait time engagements, and we transitioned our queue wait time system to be one of a social distancing system, as a matter of fact. So with that same analytical data, we can actually present that dashboard to our regulatory bodies, our enforcement, our customer service people, and we can look at each concourse in real time to see passenger throughput and whether passengers are actually social distancing in the queuing lines. And with that information, do we want to send someone out just to be able to remind them social distancing, or just how well to go ahead and engage the customer because we want the experience. But given the fact that our flight numbers are going back up almost pre 2019, that it's going to be kind of hard to do so. So there lies the challenge. How do you look at social distancing while you're dealing with an increased level of numbers of passengers coming through your airport, and trying to enhance that experience, but looking at the health and welfare measures. So those will be a challenge as well, but it gives us an opportunity to see what the footprint looks like as you start to just re-engage a little bit more. So then looking at that, but and also on a higher layer, everyone's been talking about 5G lately. So before 5G comes and goes, what's going on with it? So we've actually started to look at 5G technology a little bit more. But within the space of 5G, what we call CBRS, that technology layer for wireless that gives you that high availability, low latency, so we can actually be a little bit more efficient within the airport. So locations where I don't have, let's say, data connectivity, I could actually roll out common use kiosks and make them mobile to the point in the event of new high traffic areas, new carriers coming in, or just for a special event, I can dispatch a kiosk somewhere, fire that up because I have power, use CBRS and that spectrum, and do passenger processing just about any place in the airport. So we're doing some pilots with that pretty soon, as well as with high-end video. So we've gone from analog, going to digital video, and with that being able to do more predictability and more analytics around video as well. And last but not least, we've been talking about biometrics for so long. So we've done several great biometric pilots. They were very effective when we trialed that with Air France, Lufthansa, and Virgin. So we found that the beneficial use of just biometrics and self-boarding gates, that the Air France, when the A380 and the 747s were boarding aircraft in 15 minutes. And that's like fully remarkable, but doing full passenger biometric reconciliation as mandated by the federal government. So we found that to be quite well. So that'll be happening shortly as well. But at the same token, from an innovative perspective, we should be looking at new levels of innovation, not just on the international side, but more so on the domestic side as well. So just building that framework around tech. We have a laundry list of items that we're looking at right now, but I think a lot of that will come out in the conversation and dialogue with this panel. But I really wanted to set the framework and foundation that technology is here, traditional brick and mortar is also in place, but in order to grow our industry and move our industry along, I think tech and looking at that experience factor is going to be a key differentiator for a lot of us moving forward. And so again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Maurice, for this broad analysis of the project you are undertaking. And again, sorry to bring you out of so early in the day. It's 6 o'clock in Miami, so I appreciate you having a cup of coffee while we are getting ready for lunch. I would like to ask Philippe from ORLY Airport to give us a sort of a additional view of airport initiatives. There was a lot of activities, both changes between the crisis and pilots at ORLY Airport. So Philippe, if you can give us some indication of how do you see things evolving now in the next 5 years?
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody, because here it's just past noon, lunchtime. I'm very proud of talking to this panel. I really appreciate from the former speaker that we are in the same industry and basically working on the same challenges with the same technologies and the same opportunities. So my speech could be a repeat of the former one, which you would probably not appreciate. And I thank you very much, Maurice, for doing this, because he has very well expressed what's going on in our industry. I will just put the spotlight on a couple of items which are going on here in ORLY. The first one you have on screen is biometric facial recognition, which we have had as a proof of concept in spring and summer. I'm very proud that I decided to go on with this POC in the dark month of March, where everything was stopping in our country. And we said, no, we will go on, we will proceed. We've been able to process about 5,000 passengers with the help of Transavia airline. And this has been a tremendous process because it has proven that the technology was feasible, that it worked, and that it was, we are now ready for deployment phase. In you see here the enrollment phase, the place where your face is recorded, auto backdrop and boarding. And as Maurice said, it's absolutely spectacular at boarding to have the lane of biometric passengers aside the lane of classical passenger, and see the lane of biometric passengers emptied in a snap of a finger, whereas the others are still waiting. It's a tremendous gain, and it works. We've had, of course, the question of social acceptance. Most passengers did accept. A number of them did refuse, and some of them did refuse very starkly. They wanted to have none of it, so we have to have an alternative process for those. And overall, we have been extremely respectful of all directives that were given to us by the regulatory body on personal privacy. Just one example of what we've been doing. all personal data is erased 1 hour after airplane takeoff, so as to ensure our regulator, to reassure our regulator that no personal data was would be unduly kept. So that was for biometry, but that's only the let's say the spectacular part of our job. I would like to insist on a couple of other points. First point, with the sanitary crisis, we have increased our work in monitoring and predictability of processes using technology. But I would like to add to this something that is a good news to all of us. You don't have predictability without expertise. Machines will not give you predictability. It's your experience and your expertise that really makes the difference. So I can reassure all of us aviation professionals here. We are here to stay, will be needed for a long time, because what we know how to do is necessary, especially in times of instability and crisis, like those we know. In terms of what airports will look like in the next 5 years, I would say that the main steps of airport operations will be pretty much the same. The main evolution I see now is the multiplication of touch points, passenger touch points within the terminal. We've done this exactly this in the sanitary crisis. We have multiplied touch points. In the first days, it was well, paperwork, but it was a touch point with paper. Now it's coming to the scan of the vaccinal pass, sanitary pass with an iPhone. So we're making progress, and in the future we will certainly multiply touch points either through physical devices such as kiosks, or through occasion to interact with with a telephone or whatever. Within our terminals, so as to, well, simply advance the passenger process and avoid long waits at carrying counters. So that would be my 3 points: biometry, expertise, multiplication of touch points, and I can leave the floor to the next speaker. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Philippe, and well done for your pilot on the biometrics. I'm sure we'll come back to that later. And having spoken about infrastructure and airports, I think we have to turn on for passenger experience to look at the airline side and look at how the airlines are coping with this new technology, whether it's 5G, whether it's biometrics, kiosks, and other tools. So how the airline is coping and how the passengers are enjoying this new experience. So, Arthur?
First of all, thank you also for the invitation to this great panel. I will be quite more basic on the approach for the airline. I mean, we need digitalization and to increase self-service, definitely, but not only for customer experience, but also to face challenge like the capacity of our building and infrastructure and our ability to process all the traffic growth that we have. I'm talking pre-COVID, but I'm also talking about the COVID period right now, where the airport are reducing their footprint, operative footprint, and so concentrating all the activities in some part of the terminals where we know that we can do a big flow. So self-service and digitalization is truly a way to be able to accept this growth and to be able to process all the passenger with a good experience. What we do from the airline perspective is that we have increased all of the mean of communication to the customer. Right now, we don't only handle the customer in the airport, but we also try to have I would say a very smooth talk with them throughout all the journey. So in pre-travel, a few days before the travel, for a lot of things, reminding them about the sanitary measures, but also the regulation for immigration or such things, and also to try to sell them some product, better seat in the plane or such things. So we use a lot of different channels to do that, through the airline app, obviously, but also through some mailing. When we don't have a touch point with the customer through the app, we try to do some mailing, also some SMS or such things. We also try in airport, so to develop the self-service through the kiosk. We can use a common kiosk or dedicated airline kiosk in order to, you have the checking process, okay, but as Philippe and Maurice talk about, biometric boarding is truly the next challenge for us in France, I guess, because, and also globally, because the legal framework in which we operate in the airport is truly right now not complying with the need and the customer needs in order to have a smooth journey through the airport. We cannot store the picture of customer, and based on that, we cannot do biometric on a legal base easily in France. So there is a huge challenge for us to invest in technology, but also to invest in the field of legal influence in order to make things move a little bit faster in order to face our fluidity flow channel, I will say. Last step, which is a bad one, but we work a lot on it, is when you have a disruption. It happens that things do not go smoothly for the customer. The flight is cancelled or too late for the connection, or we lose the luggage. It happens. And we try to invest also not only to have a kind of reassurance touch point with them through an employee talking in the airport with them, but also to have a very smooth experience through a digital channel. And so either for disruption or for loss of luggage or such things, we now are able, when we know the customer, when we have contact with him through the app, we are able to start the talk with him automatically, to propose him, to suggest to him different alternatives in order to repair, to recover the situation. We do it on all the topic I said, so luggage and plane delay, but we expect also to try to find some other way to keep this digital channel on before, through, and after the travel. So that's our challenge in all this self-service and digitalization that we face.
Okay, thank you very much, Arthur. Indeed, the customer experience starts when you decide to buy the ticket, from the time you arrive at destination with your luggage or without your luggage in case something went wrong. And indeed, whether it's pre-travel, immigration, management of incident, management of recovery, all of the issues that need to be looked at. And also, indeed, as you said, the legal challenge that exists in one location versus another location, each country having their own ways of looking at things. So I'm very pleased now I can turn to Gaël, who has experience in a number of countries, so he can bring us a wider perspective on those issues and look at, tell us how he sees the evolution now and the challenges for the next 5 years for the change of customer experience.
And being the last one, I have the hard task to bring original talking points and put for thought for attendees. Maybe I can start with the next battle for enhancing customer experience. We heard from Maurice, Philippe, and Arthur about airports and air carriers who have invested a lot over the past years for significantly improving the terminal, the passenger experience in the terminals. I think that one of the next battles for enhancing the overall airport customer experience is to work on the first and last miles. because the passenger journey doesn't start on the curbside, right? It's from the doorstep to the doorstep, from door to door. And the first and last miles are the segments of the passenger journey where traditional aviation stakeholders have the least control over. In the recent past, we have seen airports and air carriers starting working on that. For instance, in Paris, Group ADP has been very vocal, I think that's an euphemism, in advocating for CDG Express, a straight shot, finally, from CDG to downtown Paris. Where we see airports and air carriers operating bus systems and other services from aviation facilities to different points of their catchment areas. What's the next step? I think that we have an opportunity with advanced air mobility, you know, urban air mobility and regional air mobility, these electric VTOLs and electric aircraft, generally speaking. There is still a lot of work to do in order to make them mainstream, right? Certifying them, getting the right approval from the local jurisdictions and so on. That's a thing. But you see a lot of airlines over the past few months signing agreements with electric aircraft original equipment manufacturers. There is a reason why. It's not just for the sake of supporting technological innovation, right? It's because they see an opportunity here. They see an opportunity to address the first and last miles through local air service from the airport to not only urban areas within their primary catchment area, but also suburban and rural areas, doing regional air mobility, kind of micro mobility with small electric aircraft flying from larger airports to serve smaller communities, you know. That's the first point. Second point, I see a lot of good that we can create to make the passenger journey more compliant with social expectations in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. For instance, talking about the wayfinding, you know, yesterday, wayfinding was a physical stuff, a sign in the terminal, you know. It's boring, you're always wrong, you don't know where to put it, it's going to be hidden from somewhere. For instance, in two languages, for French in English. Now you start air services with another country with a lot of passengers that don't speak either French and English. What do you have to do? Reduce the entire wayfinding. With information systems and tomorrow intelligence systems, you have a new opportunity here. You can dematerialize part of the wayfinding through apps and other systems. You can translate that in any language. If you have people coming from 120 countries with hundreds of different languages, you can translate the wayfinding in all these different languages. Why not Brezhnev, Cherokee, other languages as well? You can do that with mobile applications. And also people with special needs. You can adapt the information provided through these apps for special needs, and that's great. However, I see one threat that we have to be mindful about when we implement new information and intelligence systems. It's what I will call, let's say, bias per design. You know, we have seen, for instance, reports of biometric ID systems acquired by law enforcement agencies showing higher rates of misidentification with people of color. We know also that body scanners at airports, they have a tendency to give up on transgender passengers. You know, that's not okay. We are aviation. The world is our guest, literally. And our workforce reflects that diversity. So I think that all the tech firms, you know, they have to do their homework. And also it's upon us, airport operators, other aviation stakeholders, to specify in our procurement process that these providers have to address that by design, you know. Maybe a last discussion point, smaller airports. Everything that you have heard throughout these state of the air is not only for big airports. If you are a small airport, you can enhance your customer experience. You can implement information and intelligence systems. Just one thing, don't listen to false prophets of technologies. A lot of providers might come to you proposing you very expensive and complex systems. You know, smaller airports can have access to things that are fitting their specific needs. There is no need to acquire systems or techs that do not serve your operations, you know. And one of the maybe the best presentation I've ever seen was at one of the annual meetings of the Transportation Research Board, the US TRB, back in 2015 from the director of Tupelo Regional Airport. Amazing gentleman, and he demonstrated in 15 minutes how he turned Tupelo Regional Airport into a smart airport doing homemade electronic systems. Each one of the solutions, you know, were costing between 10 and 100 US dollars. And with all of these small systems, he was able to, for instance, do automated NOTAM notifications to his private pilot community. He was able to get alerts when a secure gate was open. All of that with these kind of systems, created at home. Of course, I'm not saying that every small airport director has to be a techie, but what I mean is that it's possible to create technologies and systems that specifically meet the needs of smaller airports and larger airports, of course. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaël. Indeed, we have large airports represented here, but small airports are also part of the overall journey, if only because you can start or finish at a smaller airport. I'm sure, you know, there are many questions raised by your presentation, so I'll open the floor here to the room. And if you have any question, raise your hand. Yes, please, and press on the microphone, please.
First of all, thank you very much for your lovely presentation. And my question is about innovation. The thing is that a few years ago, innovation was a buzzword in the airport industry. Then came COVID-19 and immediate priorities for airport changed. So the thing is that, does innovation fit into airport priorities today? And what has happened to the innovation programs that many airports implemented a few years ago? By the way, I can see through your presentation that you are very committed into innovation. This is a very good thing, but because airports suffer from many cuts due to the loss of traffic, I think I would like to know if for you innovation still fit to airport priorities.
I would answer that it's exactly.
Okay, Philippe, do you want to start? And then we'll ask Maurice afterwards.
Yes, sorry, Jenkins. My answer will be short. It's exactly the reverse. With the crisis, we can't invest ourselves out of our problems. We can't build terminals when we have congestion. So our solution is smart, and getting capacities through smart, which is an echo to what Franck said earlier. Sorry, Jenkins, it was yours.
No,
sorry, Maurice, sorry.
No, it's quite all right. I wanted to piggyback onto that because what we have found, and it was quite surprising, that we have seen in this industry when you're looking at technology and IT and innovation priorities, we sat in this siloed environment for so long that I have several IT initiatives I wanted to work on, and then the pandemic slowed them down. But then I realized we had several other agencies that are also looking at having IT priorities that shifted. So then we started to see that there was a regeneration of efforts and initiatives during the pandemic, that we truly had an opportunity to actually use the C word of collaboration more now during COVID, post-COVID, as we're moving through this process than ever before. So from an IT priority perspective, we've had more opportunities for engagement with airport airline engagement, airport airline and regulatory body engagement. So we've done some pilots with several airlines. We've done some pilots with Customs and Border Protection. We're talking to TSA. So we're actually engaging more in data sharing and looking more at innovation now than I think we have looked at in the last 10 years. And so, as a matter of fact, I have a meeting today with the head of CBP looking at technology and innovation and how we can actually integrate more with the TVS data that sits in the cloud and integrating that when we read your passport for biometrics. And could we use that potentially for domestic travel? Now, these are conversations that never existed before. And Gail, correct me if I'm wrong, we were in industry silo. So we were actually able to look at more innovation projects today than I think I've seen in a very long time, and move those along, share that, how well it works, and either develop a tender to go out and go get it, or just implement it based upon resources that we had today, and at minimal cost. So therefore, you're looking at mitigating costs and expenses on top of that, while you're layering that and adding levels of implementation of just tech and tech innovation and integration. So I've seen some benefits that have come out of it. And also it's been more rapid to develop and bring forward. Normally, when you talk about an innovation project, you're talking about it today, but you're not seeing it manifest itself, what, 6 months, a year, 2 years later? We're talking about it today and you're seeing it in 30, 60, 90 days in proof of values and proof of concepts rather than 6 months to a year later. So I'm seeing more of an increase in push today than before. Our numbers for domestic traffic has actually picked up. We're waiting on the international side. So I am doing better than pre-2019 travel right now for domestic travel. So that has also helped us.
Thank you, Maurice. Gaël, do you want to add something?
Yes, thank you. No, just one thing. I think that airports today, they are fully aware that innovation will help them addressing the operational and technical challenges that they face. And we see a lot of airports, including the 2 airport operators that are part of this panel, being kind of innovative labs, reaching out to tech companies, institutions and so on, and saying, hey, we have an amazing playground here. We are an international airport. So maybe you can come here and work with us on new solutions for addressing these needs, and it's a win-win. You can develop and test in the real world your innovation, and at the same time we can be at the forefront of that innovation. So all these innovation labs, that are helping the industry developing the right solutions, and at the same time airports getting awareness of what's coming up. And also being first in line for implementing all these technologies.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think we need to realize that airports are very strong being data rich. There's a lot of data in airports, a lot of data.
Your question was about airport, but if you are interested in from the airline perspective, since major airlines have a lot of past of investment in innovation and trying to improve the customer experience, the shock that we face with the COVID crisis make us make some choice, very aggressive choice of cutting all the investment on the non-useful part of the customer experience, but just facing the challenge of being able to reassure the customer and to ensure that he is able to board. So we fully targeted all our technological innovation investment in the pre-travel. All the companies are doing that right now, from the golf industry or the other European major. It's a must for us. So even if you don't have the money, you're ready to invest on such a challenge, because otherwise you're just shut down. So definitely we keep on investing on that.
Thank you, Arthur. Any other question in the room? Sorry, Philippe, you wanted to add something.
Just to say that we collectively have made great progress from the first days of the COVID to now. We were now fully using automated sanitary pass recognition and so on. An airline such as Air France has made a great product of untangling the complexity of serving multiple countries with vastly different regulations. So be assured that innovation is here, it's firmly here, and it's delivering.
Thank you very much for your answers.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, either on in the room or online? just before we, other questions come up through, I would like to get more details on initiative on biometrics that both Maurice and Philippe mentioned. I guess to implement a new biometric solution, whether it's to convince the customer in border protection TSA or in the US or ACNIL in France represents a massive challenge in terms of regulation and implementation. So just maybe for Philippe first and then Maurice, could you describe in more detail what kind of biometrics you were collecting, whether it's a fingerprint, pictures, other details, how you were collecting them, how you mentioned that you had to delete them after an hour, and how you were implementing that in practice, and how you make sure that the regulator were satisfied with your solution. And Philippe, if you could speak a bit closer to the microphone, your voice is a bit softer than the others.
Is the voice clear now?
Yes, it's okay. Thank you.
If it is. Biometry, it's facial recognition. It's a proof of concept. So we implemented the first step of activating the facial recognition on the airport. You swipe your ID card with your face in the field of the camera, and the machine matched both and stored the information. This step is not a compulsory one. With a proper cross-industry agreement, the facial data could be imported from an airline fidelity program, or a nationally recognized ID, digital ID system. The other two steps were automatic backdrop and boarding gate, where we retrofitted the biometric system, which was provided to us by IDEMIA, in systems from two different providers. So that proves that the system can work with a variety of devices from different vendors. The biometric data was stored in a central database, where it was erased, as I said, after 1 hour after flight departure. The interaction with our regulator was long. It has taken us about 6 months to discussion to get an approval for an experiment. And in France, as was said earlier, the regulator is reluctant to have centrally stored facial identity. So we're not sure at this stage that he will allow us to go full size and to go beyond an experimental phase. That's a case we have to build in the next 2 months, few months to get an approval. We have been because there is some degree of social resistance to biometrics. So we have been extremely cautious in respecting every word of the guidelines we have been given by the regulator. Even if we wouldn't have written some of them the way they were, we have applied them with great precision, because we feel it's a duty we have to our clients and passengers. Be very cautious in the way their personal data is handled. So that's about the summary of what we've done in ORLY.
Okay, I guess my turn. I'm gonna a quick experiment for all of you. How many of you do online shopping of any sort? Just raise your hand. Okay, so I have a quick question for you. So when you go online, you're very quick to give someone your credit card information and your 3-digit CVC code, but you're not willing to come into my airport and give me your image so to allow you to safely transit through my facility. So you'd rather have your credit card soar through the internet and the World Wide Web that anyone can take and use and and the potential to be compromised, but you don't want to share your picture with me for one flight. Somewhere along the line, I think we have a disconnect. So let's think about that a little. Okay, so who's holding that on? So there lies the challenge and the problem that from an acceptance standpoint, we need to realize there's a benefit to be gained given the fact that this is 2021 and we're still conducting the transport sector business the same that we've been doing since 2011 and prior to that. So we're talking about the customer experience, we're talking about seamless travel, we're talking about contactless travel. If we're going to do that, we need to have the ability to be able to engage with our customers that there's a transformational change process that is effective, that is also needed, and to be able to work on getting that buy-in. Whether it's the same way we did that to get individuals to realize that you could use your debit card and go to an ATM machine and get money out, rather than individuals standing in line to talk to a teller and say, please give me my own money, and however long that took, it's an adoption. And where does that go? So when we looked at biometrics for what we did when we engaged our pilots, and the good thing we looked about it from a technology perspective and engaging with how data is being held and who's managing and storing the data, whether it's an opt-in, opt-out process, something else needs to occur within that. But the data that we use for biometrics, that data is held by a regulatory body, which is Customs and Border Protection. That's one. Two, the data is in the cloud. Secure, private as it may be, that data sits in the cloud, and it sits across two platforms, AWS and Azure, right? So they're leveraging, if I'm not mistaken, Amazon as well as Microsoft and somebody else in regards to multiple cloud platforms, and that data sits in there. So when we're looking at any level of international departure flights, that information is grabbed via your passport, that digital footprint, sits with Customs and Border Protection in the cloud for that flight. Once that go, no go is accepted or not accepted and Customs does their thing, you're getting that green light to proceed or that red X. And if you get a red X, most likely either you're going to jail or something else is going on, right? So you don't want to get the red X. But at the same token, from an integration standpoint, you're integrating that with the airline's local departure system. So you can have a one-step process that you're cleared, one, and two, you're going to reconcile your seat, so therefore you can board the aircraft and you're not slowing down the business process. So within that, and we've proven that to be successful and it works well, is engaged, and my long-term view is from a transportation perspective, is stretch that a little bit further on the biometric side, and why can't we use that with an enrollment process and use that for domestic flights? So therefore, you still no longer have to pull out your ID card or your passport and your boarding pass to be able to traverse through the airport to go ahead and board a flight, or you're going from Orly to Charles de Gaulle or from there to Heathrow or any short haul flight, for whatever the case may be. Why are we not looking at that level of integration for that adoption to simplify your travel process? Let's not call it security. It's like you want to simplify the travel process. And oh, by the way, with your mobile, because your digital footprint is also there, you can use that for ordering. So no, it's not contactless engagement, using your biometrics to go through your restaurants, using that for self-bag drop. So if you want a total passenger experience end-to-end journey, there's a collaboration effort that's required. I think we need the biometric data exists today to figure who are you more happy with or comfortable with for storing that data and ensuring that the data is going. If you opt in, I'm telling you, I'm going to use your data for a finite period of time. And let's define that. Be it 30 minutes, 1 hour, 3 hours, or within 2 days, the data has to be deleted. And I think those parameters are set by our regulatory bodies today. But it allows you now to be able to use that for your journey. Let's create that journey together. And now that garage to gate experience, end to end, I think would be amazing. Using your biometrics, let's go there for the car park. Let's check in, security checkpoint, order some food, board the aircraft, I'm done. So I think the future of biometrics is there, but our engagement, what we're doing for international departures, and we reconcile that. And Arthur, as you were saying about not being able to use biometrics for travel and engagement, because that data that you send when you look at and sending the PNR over to the US that CBP gets, that information is already received by CBP. That's why when you're using their clear process, when you land, you're no longer going through the sheet any longer. They're just taking an image of your face and reconciling that against their TVS of that arriving flight, reconciling it, and you're out in 10 seconds now, which is an improved process. So they've already done the vetting. And our discussion later on this morning is going to continue on where that's going in the future, the future of that. So now, after that long haul flight, leveraging biometrics, individuals are being processed through customs and immigration or border control a lot quicker, and that the experience factor starts there from the time that you land.
Okay, thank you, Maurice. Any other question in the room? Yes, please. Go ahead and press them.
Arnaud?
Yeah, Maurice?
No, that's Gaël.
Gaël, sorry.
Maybe if I can do a very quick parenthesis about cybersecurity. Because we see airports are becoming data managers. We are relying increasingly on systems. Of course, we need to keep up because the threat is evolving very quickly. And for that, at some point, maybe we want also to look for support, share information, gain lessons learned outside of the aviation community, because as an aviation community, we're not exposed to necessarily all the threats that are coming to us. We can look at other modes of transportation, for instance, pipelines. We can also look and discuss with other industries. And I would like to mention a great initiative from MITRE Corporation called Attack, ATTNCK, and that's an open collaborative platform where IT experts share, and this is public, it's open access, it's online, patterns of cyber attacks and learn about potential mitigation. Great platform, non-aviation specific, but cybersecurity is not aviation specific. And today, we already have governmental and security systems, as well as air traffic management systems. These things, they're already hardened. And they work on networks that are less exposed. But other airport systems are potentially exposed. And I think we definitely need to work on the cybersecurity side while we are becoming increasingly data managers and relying on information and tomorrow intelligence systems as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Gaël. Indeed, that's a good segue. Cybersecurity is clearly critical, and you know, at the conference just before, people were talking about big data, and indeed, you know, the opportunity to exploit big data, whether to improve the arrival experience, you know, convincing DHS that you're not there to create havoc, or also when you come in as a working, visitors to the airport. So as we're drawing to the close of this session, what I'd like to give you, each one of you, opportunity to, you know, maybe draw some conclusions or what you're working on, and you know, what do you see the perspective. Indeed, we all know that, you know, whether it's with 5G, with the availability of big data, there's a lot of opportunities to improve the customer experience. Obviously, data protection, data privacy, and GPIs and so GPRD are critical to be adhered to. So indeed, there's a fine path to find between improving the experience, leveraging the technology, and respecting privacy. But maybe you can go around the room to give you a chance to give you a few words of conclusion. Arthur, maybe?
It makes me think about one challenge for the airline is, with all this technology, we still need not to forget customers that cannot reach this technology. That's the main challenge for us, and we cannot truly benefit from the cost competitiveness of the technology investment that we do, due to a huge part of people which are not tech friends and which cannot travel in such condition. So therefore, we need to keep in mind when we want to develop this innovation that something like 10–20% of our passenger will not be eligible to go through this new technological process, either for diplomatic, legal reason, or just because they are not tech friends. So that's a challenge for us. We try to lower the difficulty of entries of all our technology that we use, but we will still keep a base of customer which is not able to be fully processed as we target to do it. So that's our main challenge as an airline, to keep these customers in mind and to invest in staff also to handle these people and to help them to have the same quality of travel and customer experience as the other.
Thank you, Arthur. Indeed, you know, inclusion is a key challenge, and depending on the destinations, I just can remember my experience in Jeddah, where you have, you know, people taking a flight for the first time in their life to fulfill their religious duties. You have millions of people who have never been on an aircraft before. So asking them to log on and put their biometrics will be a challenge indeed.
Definitely.
And this is a sort of a simple example, but clearly that's true all across. Maybe, Maurice, you have a few words of wisdom to conclude this seminar?
I want to tack on to what you just said. When you realize that I think it's 40%, if not more, individuals that are on aircraft are first-time travelers. So if you're looking at that and whatever that number is, even if you disregard tech, it's about the experience factor. Looking at the footprint of your airport and the future of your airport, if you put the number 4 billion on the wall and then you put adjacent to that 8 billion, 4 billion is what we move today in our global landscape. And then if I'm not mistaken, in another 10 years or 12 years, we're supposed to get to 8 billion people in the air. So how do you do that safely? How do you do that efficiently? And how do you not disrupt the process, either with or without tech? So it's the collaboration and the engagement within all of your entire business community. I'm looking at, we need more airport airline engagement. I think that will help our industry in regards to, Arthur, we're not leveraging tech, but the more information made available to the traveling public, just to be able to traverse through our system of airports, I think you can see some level of improvement, right? So just being able to engage with that. Most airports can't do brick and mortar enhancements and put $4 billion into a capital program. So you do need innovation in tech. So you need to look at the footprint of our system of airports, whether it's a Charles de Gaulle or an Orly or an MIA, based upon the size, based upon the requirements, and find the right fit. And look at, you're doing that to qualify to meet the requirements of industry, one, because you're the largest economic engine providing employment, one, two, moving passengers safely and effectively, and at the same token being efficient. So there lies the rub of putting that together. So I think from a collaborative standpoint, I think we need to engage tech where tech is necessary, or just look at business processes and look to reinvent those business processes to be as efficient and as effective as you possibly can.
Thank you, Maurice. Philippe, you want to give us some few words?
Yes, I would add that even tech-friendly guys can be put off by what they see on their screen or on their apps. It happens to me all the time. So there is more than simply having a non-tech product. It's also ensuring that we are available at the side of our customers when they engage with our technological devices. That's something we do all the time when we stroll through airports and we meet our clients, and that will remain an essential part of the game. Having people in order to help reassure our passengers when they are going through this digital journey. So it's also collaborating with our passengers, and I would end on that this word, which Maurice and others have also pronounced. Collaboration through the industries and with our clients is the key to making innovative progress.
Thank you, Philippe. And Gaël?
Well, I think I'm going to echo what I've heard about inclusion. You know, the key word for the future of customer experience is an inclusive experience. In the Northern Hemisphere, our population is aging. Imagine us in 50 years trying to interact with these intelligent systems of the future, right? In the Southern Hemisphere, the middle class is booming. You know, they're going to travel, and we have the duty to cater to them as well. So it means that we have to learn about different cultural background. We have to serve populations of different age, and the technology can help. Look at Japan, for instance. That's a good example of how technology can help creating that inclusive experience for different generations, you know. something that we need to keep in mind. The technology it's not going to be just about replacing human beings and saving on operating costs. It's not what we are talking about. The technology is going to help enhance the passenger experience. And we will always need people in the terminals for supporting our client. I'm going to tell you a good story I heard from an airport operator. You know, we are talking about a terminal with a fully electronic boarding pass and so on. The systems go off. You know, and they ask to their staff, well, guys, do old-fashioned, you know, board the people like old time, and they look at each other and say, what are you talking about? How can we do that? Well, you take the boarding pass, you take the ID card, and you take your manifest, and you reconcile all this information. They didn't know how to do that. See what I mean? So we still need human beings, and we still need to train them in order to address this kind of situation. What if, you know, what if scenarios? What if the technology goes off? In order to be resilient, technology is great, but we need also to think about plan Bs. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaël. So we are going to think about inclusion both for travelers and for employees. Okay, that's fair enough. For those of you who are too young to remember what was the world without an iPhone, and for those of you who are too old to remember what a QR code is. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I would like to thank you, Maurice, Gaël, Philippe, and Arthur. And I would remind you, for those of you who are in the middle of the day, that we are restarting at 2:30 in the amphitheatre for the speech from Olivier Chansou, our director. And so now we have a short break to recover, and see you at 2:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.